Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach, and today I am driving a 1983 Nissan 720 pickup. Up front is a 2.4 liter inline 4, and down below is a 3-speed automatic transmission. Now I am super excited to be driving this Nissan pickup for many reasons, but mainly the fact that this has only 865 miles on it, because this is a very important vehicle. This exact Nissan pickup that I am driving for today's video is the first Nissan vehicle ever built in the United States. Back in the 1980s, Nissan wanted to enter the American market as their own Nissan name. In the past, they had used Datsun for a lot of the products that they sold here, but they were ready to make the switch to their global name of Nissan. And so they decided to build a factory here in Tennessee. And so this car that I'm driving today, this truck that I'm driving today, was the very first vehicle ever constructed by Nissan in North America at that plant, ever. And so this is a piece of Nissan's history, and I'm so excited to share it with you here today. But if you'd like to submit your own vehicle and have it reviewed here on the channel, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. And if you'd like to see all my videos weeks or sometimes months in advance, you can head on over to my Patreon for only $5 a month. But let's get back to that 2.4 liter inline 4 under the hood. Well, it is actually a twin spark engine, meaning there's actually 2 spark plugs per cylinder. It's the Z24 engine, which made 103 horsepower. Now, this in and of itself isn't a very special engine. It's not very fast. It's not very good, in all honesty. But this was the basis of the 2.4 liter that came after it, known as the KA. So if you've ever driven a Nissan 240SX, a Nissan Hardbody, a Pathfinder that had the 2.4 liter, you have this little pickup truck to thank. Everything they learned from this 2.4 liter was then put into the KA. It is very interesting. It's a twin spark engine, so it actually has 8 spark plugs for a 4-cylinder, which they later did away with because it didn't really add what they were hoping it would. Like I said, paired to it is a 3-speed automatic, and that is one of the only options that this truck has. It has the automatic. You could find these, of course, in manual. I assume they knew this was going to be the first one, and that image of them rolling it out of the assembly plant, they didn't even want to take the risk of having someone stall it or not know how to drive it properly. So that's why I imagine this was put in here, but it is the 3-speed auto. It's lazy, it's dumb, it's an 80s automatic. All of them were, so I'm not surprised. Last but not least, this is 2-wheel drive, so it is rear-wheel drive, as simple as it gets. How does it feel to drive the Job 1 Nissan 720 pickup? It's incredibly cool. First of all, it drives great, super smooth. Everything works so well. I'm used to driving these mini trucks with 200, 300,000 miles sometimes. To drive one with 800, this is a nice car that I could live with. If you don't need a back seat for getting around the farm but also going into town, this was an absolutely fantastic option because on road, it doesn't beat you up. It rides kind of like a car, and that's what these mini trucks were very good at when they were new. Now, these trucks are often beaten and used for their truck purposes, so all of the ones that I've driven are usually pretty high mileage. This one obviously isn't, and so it still drives wonderfully. Visibility is great, ride quality is good. I adore this little thing. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about this fantastic interior. Well, in front of me, I have 3 gauges. Off to the left is the coolant temperature, in the center is the speedometer, and off to the right is the fuel. That's it. I have 2 circles. They don't do anything. On the steering wheel, we do have the Nissan logo, which again was new for the 80s. But we also have our headlights and washers around the back. And off to the left, we have a climate control vent for the heat. There is no AC in this truck. And some block-off panels, again, because of how basic it is. Moving on to the door, we have the latch to get in and out, and crank for the window with this awesome fabric. I love the look of it here. It's this sort of scratchy, almost vinyl-y looking fabric, but kind of reminds me of blue jeans, which being the first American Nissan, kind of ties it all together. Moving into the center, we have 2 climate control vents. We have a little storage cubby. We have some wood accenting across the dash. Cigarette lighter, gauge dimmer switch, ashtray. Our heating options as well as venting options. Again, no AC in this particular truck, but we do have some venting. And we have a radio block off. Normally this Nissan logo is where the radio would be, but this did not get that option. I think Nissan knew that they were going to put this into their heritage collection, so why lose the $1.50 it costs to put the radio in? We have a little cubby down below that and the shifter. The shifter looks kind of crudely slapped here in the center. This was very common for the 80s because most cars were manual first and then adopted to have automatics. That was the sort of pricier option, was to have the automatic transmission. And so there would have been a 4 or 5 speed shifter here, but instead it has the automatic. Now, unfortunately, there are no cup holders here in the Job 1 Nissan 720 pickup, so it fails the big friggin' bottle test, but honestly, I'm not even mad at it. The seats are vinyl as well. They are cushy and comfortable. They haven't even been broken in for under 1,000 miles. So incredibly wonderful. I drove a 2026 Nissan Sentra down to this shoot, and I have now gone over the mileage that this truck currently has. This hasn't gone anywhere, and the seats really, really reflect that. They're still cushy, they're still comfortable, they're still holding me within the truck. Now, at the time, they didn't have any 4-door variants or anything like that. You could get an extended cab-ish looking thing that had little jump seats, but this didn't have it. However, speaking of the back area, we do have a bed, so let's go talk about that. So something interesting that you'll see here is that, yes, it says Nissan in size 1 bajillion font, but it still says Datsun. What the heck? I thought this was a Nissan. It is, but Nissan actually changed their name in the early 80s to Nissan from Datsun. In the American market, they used the Datsun name since the late 60s, I believe, because they weren't sure if Nissan was going to really make it in the United States, and so they didn't want to tarnish their global Nissan name for an experiment, so they went by Datsun. Well, their experiment had gone well enough throughout the 70s that they decided to switch to the Nissan name. There's a bunch of ads about this. There's like some old stuffy suburban dad that's like, oh, new name, what else did they change, blah, blah, blah. So on some cars, they actually retained Nissan, but also Datsun, so people didn't get confused. Because it was a new name, it's still the good old-fashioned Datsun at the end of the day. Coming around the bed, obviously this is the long bed, which is great. It has these tie-downs on the outside, which is really, really cool. This is how they did tie-downs back in the day. We have a cute little fuel door there. But this is it, and it had a more traditional tailgate. Throughout the 70s, sometimes tailgates had like chains, or you would like latch them like right here. This is actually a more modern feeling and modern looking tailgate that we might associate with more modern trucks. So there you go, nice and simple, solid construction. And this is the first truck bed fully assembled here in the United States. What an amazing car. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and of course I love the look of this. Now, the curator of the Nissan Heritage Collection told me that they purposefully did a red, white, and blue setup. White exterior, blue interior, and the badging has a little bit of red on it. They wanted to show that how excited Nissan was to be here in the United States, so that's why the truck is spec'd in the color that it is, and I love it. It is just so great to see such a wonderfully well-preserved piece of history. Visually, I like the look of it. I think it's styled well. It kind of has that sporty, agile look that I would want from a mini truck like this. With all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving Job 1? And I can't believe I'm saying it. It is such a privilege to be driving this truck here today. And actually, full transparency, I actually turned off the truck for the middle part of this video while I'm talking. I'm going to drive it again here in a second, but just to try to keep as many hours off that engine, that all original engine, as I can. It's so special. Well, my final thoughts on the truck in general is it's fine. The Nissan 720 pickup was just like any other mini truck you could buy. You could go get the Mighty Max. You could go get the Toyota pickup. You could go get the Ford Ranger, the Dodge Ram 150, the Mazda B2200. Honestly, there's not a whole lot of differentiation between a lot of these different trucks. They're little, they have slim features, they drive great. Often when they're manual, they shift great. Little buzzy 4 cylinders that are reliable as the day is long. So driving the 720, is anything in here blowing me away? No, it's a pretty average basic truck. What I can say is that driving this specific truck, this is the first Nissan ever built in North America. Every single North American Nissan that I drive after after this. They now make the Rogue here. They make the Pathfinder here. Every one of those vehicles will definitively come after this vehicle. This is the first one. And to be driving that, and to be here in Tennessee, Nissan now has its roots, its North American headquarters here in Frankfort, Tennessee. To be driving it here is just such a monumental experience. And I was so incredibly excited to share this truck with you. Oftentimes on the channel, I get to say, you know, oh, this car might have seen the moon landing. This car might have been there when the Berlin Wall fell. This car was probably in the area when this national event happened. I don't have to do the guesswork in this video. I don't have to hypothesize in this video. I can say this is the first Nissan built in North America. This exact one. And I am going to keep saying that because this is just so cool. As a kid, I used to wander through car museums as much as I could. I would beg my parents to go to the Volo Auto Museum in my area and just look at historical cars. But now I'm behind the wheel. I've driven one of the most historically significant vehicles for the Nissan name, a brand that I love. And so to me, it feels as though I get to put my name in the history books along with this. I know in a very small way, but this is the privilege of a lifetime, and I was so incredibly excited to show you the very first Nissan built in North America. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Tremendous thank you to Nissan of North America and their Heritage Collection curators for allowing me, some schlub off the street with a GoPro and a microphone, to film their piece of history, their relic. The curator himself said this is their baby. This is their most important vehicle in their North American collection, and I got to drive it. So huge, incredible thank you to the entire team that put this together down here in Tennessee. I will never forget this. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.